difficult to reflect on the darkest times in your life. Sometimes you gotta do that. I was fucked up. I mean, I hit rock bottom, but I make no excuses. My behavior on that video is inexcusable. I take full responsibility for my actions in that video.
Things are heating up fast in Diddy's explosive court case, day 3 of jury selection, and the pressure is off the...
I'm disgusted. I was disgusted then when I did it. I'm disgusted now. I went and I sought out professional help. I had to go into therapy, going to rehab. Had to ask God for his mercy and grace.
Everyone's feeling the heat from the prosecutors to Diddy's squad of high-powered lawyers, but the real shocker.
I'm so sorry. But I'm committed to be a better man each and every day. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm truly sorry.
The judge just brought in illegal heavyweight Ben Chu, yep, the same guy who helped Johnny Depp beat that wild case against Amber Heard. In just 2 days they've pulled in 167 people to see who might make it on the jury. Out of that whole crowd, 49 got the boot immediately. The rest got grilled with nearly 100 rapid-fire yes or no questions, mostly about where they get their news and what they really think about Diddy.
Federal courtroom, Sean Diddy Combs told the judge he was, quote, a little nervous. The rap mogul's criminal trial began this morning. He is trafficking, racketeering, and more. The two sides are now in the process of selecting a jury of 12, plus all.
Some straight up said they weren't fans, others admitted they couldn't promise to stay neutral. No sugarcoating. By the third day they'd cut it down to 35 possible jurors. It's a mixed bag, people from all walks of life.
Depp built a reputation as one of the most talented actors in Hollywood. A respected artist whose name was associated with success at the box office. Today, his name is associated with
Some are in design, others work in social services, healthcare, or even factories. Their ages stretch from their 30s all the way to their 80s, and their info sources all over the place: YouTube, social media, old school newspapers, you name it. That's where things get tricky.
This upcoming Diddy trial that's coming up in a few days. I think it's coming up in about 4 or 5 days. How you feel about Cassie testifying against Diddy?
Yes, sir. First of all, it should be absolutely illegal for Cassie to testify against Diddy. When he paid her off.
These jurors are constantly exposed to celebs and viral opinions, which could totally mess with how they see the case. Just look at Dr. Umar, for example. He's already making waves with his takes. Now the judge is working on locking in a final crew, 12 jurors and 6 backups from the narrowed down pool. But this isn't just any case. Diddy's facing 5 major federal charges, and they're nothing like prosecutors are saying he was running some illegal operation tied to sex and drugs, and word is his ex Cassie Ventura might even hit the stand to testify against him if he ends up guilty. It's not just fines, he could be looking at life behind bars. That's why the judge brought in the big gun Ben Chu, the same legal beast who helped Johnny Depp win against Amber Heard. He showed up to drop some wisdom on how jury selection really works when a celebrity is in the hot seat.
I believe there was an NDA involved in that situation. He was paying her off to shut up and go away. After all the money he paid her, after her signing an NDA, how can she then be brought back into court to testify against him? It reminds me of Bill Cosby.
Ben pointed out that usually people are hyped to be on a celebrity trial. It feels like a front row seat to the drama. Some folks even see it as their shot at being part of something huge, but this case, totally different vibe. Nobody's jumping to be part of this one. Why? Because this isn't some flashy defamation battle. It's criminal, and it's dark, real heavy stuff.
Some of those women who lied on Bill Cosby during his sex abuse cases had NDAs. And the court let them break the NDA. You never see this with a white man accused of the same. You never see this with a Caucasian accused of the same. His lawyers should do all that they can to fight against Cassie testifying. She wasn't sex trafficked.
Ben said potential jurors might be backing off cause the details are just too disturbing, the kind of evidence they'd have to see. It could really mess with your head. And get this, Diddy's feeling the pressure too. Word is he was noticeably uneasy during jury selection this morning. Ben also broke down what kind of jurors Diddy might be crossing his fingers for. He said the defense could be aiming for younger folks, people who are more chill, open-minded, and not quick to be shocked. He even mentioned that more men might be preferred, not because women can't be fair, but because some of the details in this case might hit harder for women and make it tough to stay totally neutral.
So why are you testifying in a sex trafficking case? He is not being charged with crimes against Cassie. He's being charged with crimes against others. Cassie was paid and dismissed. Why is she being brought back into court after taking that man's money and testifying against him? That right there is clearly an excessive and abusive use of.
And now here comes the drama. Word on the inside is that Diddy was not happy when the judge brought in Johnny Depp's old lawyer to speak on jury selection behind the scenes.
Do not like it. As far as Puffy asking for his case to be delayed, I agree with that. Remember, one of his lawyers recused himself, okay, at least one of them. So he probably has, some new people on his legal team. They got to get reacclimated and get caught up with what's going on. And I saw nothing wrong with him asking for a 2-month delay.
Diddy reportedly lost it. His legal team didn't see that move coming, and now he's worried it could throw off the whole trial. After all, who ends up on this jury could flip everything. Starting Friday, both sides get to use what's called preemptor challenges. Basically, they can strike a juror for almost any reason except race or gender. If the judge suspects that's the reason, they can shut it down right there. But the jury pool's already had some hiccups. One person got booted after saying they worked at HBO. Yeah, the same HBO that just dropped a documentary about Diddy.
He's already in jail. Y'all didn't give him bail, which y'all also think is a violation of his constitutional rights. So he should have got the 8-week delay. But here we go again. Deion Sanders. We want to make an example out of Puff. And of course, Deion wasn't accused of what Puffy is being accused of, but we want to make an example out of Sean Puffy Combs. He was too confident, he was too big, and it was time for us to bring.
And another potential juror didn't mention they work at the Legal Aid Society, which handles criminal defense, but surprisingly they were allowed to stay. The judge said their answers checked out. Benchu says this part of the process is make or break for Diddy. Just last year, CNN aired hotel footage from 2016 showing Diddy hitting his ex-singer Cassie Ventura. After it aired, Diddy publicly apologized. With this case blowing up in the media, the courts decided to keep the jury totally anonymous, no names out there, to protect them from threats or any kind of pressure. Prosecutors say that hotel video is just the tip of the iceberg. They're claiming Diddy used fear, violence, and control over women for over 2 decades. They accuse him of forcing women into what he allegedly called freak-offs, drug-fueled sex parties that reportedly involved male sex workers and left the women with no real way to say no.
Have a member of the team going through the social media of these jurors, making sure they didn't do anything. I mean, how much research can you do in terms of, did they search for something? Did they say something? I always am curious about that, because you come into court the next day and you always hear a prosecutor or defense attorney say, court, we have an issue we would like to bring to your attention. Juror number 5 was looking, it's like, how did they find that out? Is that what happens?
According to the official charges, Diddy didn't just show up. He allegedly planned, organized, and directed these wild parties. They even say he sometimes recorded them without the women knowing. These parties weren't quick either. Some went on for days with different people constantly coming in and out. Well, it is.
Well, it is in a high-stakes case like this. I mean, as you know, not all clients have the resources to hire, jury consultants and to hire investigators. But in this case, you have a defendant who could theoretically be sentenced to life in prison, who has the means. So I'm sure, or I would think, that his counsel have a team of investigators.
Chopper recently came forward and dropped some chilling details about what went down. He exposed stuff no one had even whispered about before, like claims that Diddy had massive sex toys meant for himself. And that's not all. Chopper also told a wild story about how Diddy once allegedly made a move on an MTV cameraman who got so freaked out he straight up quit his job.
Following the jurors around to the extent they can and looking for any electronic footprint.
Now, I mentioned before how can you believe the jurors? How do you know they're telling the truth? Well, I'll tell you what we've seen so far in the Combs jury selection process, you have
To keep the party going, Diddy allegedly passed around drugs, things like G and magic mushrooms. The women, according to the reports, they were expected to just go with it, no questions asked, and once it was all over, 4 fluids were supposedly used to help them bounce back from the intense exhaustion. The picture being painted in court is dark, and prosecutors are saying it's way bigger than just one night or one tape, and it gets even darker.
Seems to be a lot of honesty, okay? Because you had one prospective juror who told the court that she had been sexually assaulted as a teenager, and that if the defense brings up at trial that, look, these alleged victims didn't report what they say happened to them, this juror indicated they would understand why, and they would be biased in the...
The charges claimed Diddy didn't just use fear, he allegedly used guns, kidnappings, and even set fires to keep people under his control. One of the victims, listed only as Victim 1, is widely believed to be Cassie Ventura. In one shocking incident, Diddy was caught on camera in a Los Angeles hotel hallway back in 2016, hitting Cassie, kicking her, and even throwing a vase at her.
You put Johnny Depp on the stand. It's always a high-risk strategy. It worked for you. If you were representing Sean Diddy Combs, would you put him up?
Stevie J later tried to explain it away, saying Diddy was on drugs during the attack. Another story in the legal documents is just as terrifying. Diddy allegedly dangled a woman over the edge of a balcony during a heated argument. The level of control and chaos described is wild.
Well, we put Johnny up because he was telling the truth. So that was a very easy decision to make, and he had the burden of proof, and frankly, we couldn't have stopped him even if we wanted to, but we didn't want to. Telling the truth as he did.
But Diddy's legal squad isn't backing down. Leading the charge is Mark Agnafalo, a big-name criminal defense attorney who's repped some serious headline makers like the NXVM cult leader and Farmer Bro Martinelli. His team also includes Tenny Gallo, Alexandra Shapiro, and Brian Steele, the same guy who's been representing rapper Young Thug. And here's something to think about. Did he recently turn down a plea deal? That's right, he said no. Maybe he's confident he can beat this, or maybe there's more. We don't know yet. The streets are buzzing, and so is the courtroom, because now it's not just the law coming after Diddy. More alleged victims are stepping up, saying they were trapped in his world of luxury, power, and fear. Some say he lured them in with promises of fame, only to pull them into something way darker.
Over several days, you're not telling the truth. Skilled attorneys on the other side are going to puncture that. I believe in that system. I think in this case, I don't think he's got any choice. Given that video, he's got to explain it. He's got to say that he's terribly sorry for it, but that was an aberration. That's not who he is. He simply had...
There are claims he used private jets, lavish hotels, and expensive gifts to keep control like a golden cage. One woman says she was flown out to events where she thought she'd be networking, only to end up in situations that left her scared and trapped. Others are saying they felt like they couldn't leave, or that walking away would destroy their lives or careers. That's the kind of control prosecutors say he used, making people feel like they owed him something or had no way out.
Last hearing before Sean Combs' trial starts, when he walked into federal court today, he appeared to be looking for his family. They've pretty much been at all of the hearings that I've been to, but there was no presence of his sons or his mother or his sister who had previously been at those hearings.
And behind-the-scenes insiders say there were strict rules, phones locked away, NDAs forced on people, and security watching every move. Some even claim there were hidden cameras in places where no one expected them. This isn't just a trial about one incident. It's starting to look like a whole system built to protect Diddy and keep others silent. People are now asking how long this went on, and who else knew what was really happening behind the velvet ropes now that the case is in full swing. The music industry is feeling the shake-up. Some artists who once called Diddy a mentor are now staying quiet, too quiet. Others are slowly backing away, erasing collabs and photos from social media like they're trying to vanish from the timeline. There's even talk that a few big-name artists have lawyered up just in case they get dragged into the mess. Why? Because prosecutors are digging through years of parties, partnerships, and label connections. If someone was there or stayed silent about what was happening, they could be asked to testify, or worse. A few industry folks are trying to spin things, saying they never saw anything, but insiders are calling cap on that. Some say there were whispers for years, but nobody wanted to speak up because Diddy had too much power. He was the gatekeeper. Crossing him could wreck your career. Meanwhile, Bad Boy Records is trying to stay afloat, but fans aren't buying it. Social media is calling out the silence from the label and its artists. The whole brand's image is taking a hit.
So here's what came out of today's hearing. Number one, the government acknowledged that they offered Combs a plea deal. Combs acknowledged he has no interest in taking that. They're going to move forward with the trial.
People are now wondering how deep does this go and how many stayed quiet just to keep getting paid as the court digs deeper. It's not just about Diddy anymore, it's the whole empire. Investigators are now looking into his company's financial records, and who signed off on what. There's a serious question floating around: was this all just a one-man show, or did others help keep it running? Some insiders are whispering that certain staffers were more involved than they let on. Former bodyguards, assistants and event organizers are being tracked down for interviews. If even a few of them flip, this case could explode in every direction. There's also talk that some employees tried to raise concerns over the years but were either fired or bought out. A few documents have already surfaced showing payouts made to keep people silent. These hush agreements are now being re-examined, especially if they were tied to illegal activity.
Also talked about the jury selection process, which one legal expert I spoke to said is probably the most important thing that you want to pay close attention to before the actual trial starts.
At this point, Diddy's lifestyle and business world are under a microscope. Everything from his real estate deals to company events is being reviewed. Federal agents are going deep, and nothing's off the table. The spotlight's on, and the clock is ticking. If more receipts come out, texts, emails, contracts, this could go from bad to catastrophic, and the people who thought they were safe behind the scenes, they might be next on the witness list. So what's Diddy's move going into this hearing? His top lawyer, Agnafalo, says the whole thing is being blown out of proportion. He claims Diddy wasn't forcing anyone, he just lived what they call a swinger lifestyle, where adults were supposedly down for wild behavior and everything was consensual.
And thirdly, we learned that Combs will be adding 2 new attorneys to his defense team. And just to recap, Combs, who is 55 years old, could spend the rest of his life behind bars if convicted on sex trafficking and racketeering. He has pleaded not guilty to all charges.
For that hotel video with Cassie, the defense says it shows a bad fight during a long toxic relationship, not a case of human trafficking. They argue that Diddy's being targeted, unfairly dragged through the mud because of who he is. In a statement, his lawyer said he is an imperfect person but he is not a criminal. And now Diddy's gearing up to step into that courtroom and fight to clear his name his way. If you're following this wild case, don't forget to like, subscribe, share and drop a comment with your thoughts. We'll be back with more updates, so stay locked in and we'll see you on the next one, all from the series.